Hello and welcome to another live chat. Probably won't be on for very long, but I always say that, so I'm just waiting for people to join. Now I know TikTok has caused me problems recently. They haven't been sending my videos to new people by the looks of it, but then again, that's what TikTok does. So yes, just waiting for people to join. I'm the guy that does the videos that you may have seen, if TikTok allows you to see them. I'm the guy that, in fact, just the last video I just done that I put up was about this woman who has a PhD who was basically saying that the researchers on ancient aliens, she actually called them a liar, which I found very disrespectful, because she then says that we have evidence of how the abundance of evidence, I think her word was, of how the pyramids were made. And of course, anyone knows that we're all sitting here scratching our heads thinking, how did they make the pyramids? And according to this woman who's trying to debunk Zachariah Sitchin, we have the evidence of how the pyramids were built. So, absolutely crazy woman. And yet she had the audacity to say that the researchers on ancient aliens was lying. So thank you whoever's doing the hearts. So it's quite annoying when you've got good researchers out there being called liars by people that actually don't know the most fundamental thing about, for example, the pyramids. No one has evidence. There's no writings. Trust me, I know. I've looked. There is no writing, drawings, hieroglyphics, anything. That there's a bit of papyrus which is talking about carrying blocks down the Nile. That's it. But this came 6,000 years after the pyramids were built, so that doesn't equate to it. But people have attributed that piece of papyrus to the pyramids. It doesn't say they were for the pyramids. It just says they moved some blocks down the river. But if you know anything about anything, you know that it's sort of 7,000 years later. The only other mention of the anything that possibly could do with the pyramids and Sphinx is there's a stele. I don't know if you know what's, but basically there's some writing that mentions a block. That's about it. That was found on the other side of the Nile, about 5 miles down. So again, nothing to actually really say. And you got to remember, there's over 1,000 pyramids around the world. 1,000 pyramids, and these ain't baby pyramids. Some of these are massive. China's got a massive one. Bosnia's got a massive one. There's apparently one in Italy that's pretty much buried, but it would be bigger than the Great Pyramid. So there's not one bit of evidence to say. And then you've got this PhD lady, when I say lady, young kid, really, she was, trying to debunk Zachariah Sitchin. Crazy. Anyway, let's go to the questions. Okay, so Alfredo has wrote, "Good morning, sir. Good morning, class. Sorry I'm late. I just got in a cage match with a racist PhD student." Oh, Alfredo, you make me laugh. Hi, Alfredo. How are you? Yeah, you've obviously watched that video that I've done, which is really a wind-up from that person. Benny's wrote, "That was an accountant's receipt." With a laughing face. Not sure what that's referring to. Sorry, I've ruined your joke there. It's on TikTok and YouTube, etc. But if you're interested to know more about the Anunnaki, my website, outruehistory.co.uk, I actually have, it's on TikTok, but it's easier to find on, because I've got over 1,000 videos now on TikTok. So outruehistory.co.uk, scroll down to on the homepage to where it says click here, and that will take you to a video of 34 minutes where I show evidence that no one will ever be able to debunk. I'm not sounding big-headed, it's just because obviously I've just shown the evidence, and no one's going to say the evidence is wrong, unless you're a PhD student, like the one I was just referring to. So yeah, they're an alien race. So hopefully, if you carry on listening, other people might ask a bit more in detail, and I can go into detail about them if you're interested. Jody has wrote, "Do you think they are here officially now?" The Anunnaki, if you're referring to, then yeah, they would have not officially, no. Otherwise, we would probably have known about it. But I think they are in the background pulling some strings. If you watch my videos and you come to the same conclusion as me, that at least one or two of them stayed up to about 1,000 years ago, then you work out that some of the last places that they were at, such as Rome, then you've suddenly got a Vatican, and then you've got telescopes that the Vatican has pointing up to see God, which is not. They're pointing up to see the planets, and then you realise, well, hang on a minute, maybe one of the Anunnakis was the person in charge of the Vatican, not as a pope or anything, but actually, as a god, as they were back then, because their race name appears to be gods, just like we're humans. Not a real problem, except some people don't want to hear that, but that's the way it comes across in their ancient texts. Gary's right, evening now to history, halfway through the second instalment. Oh, bless you. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is that's the second instalment. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, actually, whether it's a book or something. Alfredo wrote, "Can we please get questions to whole sentences, please?" Thank you, Alfredo. That's only because it's very difficult for me to answer single word points. Sean has wrote, "You are really cool. I loved listening to you the other day." And then wrote, "The Enki," something that looks like a cigarette, and the Lizard Men. Don't really know what that's referring to. I'm guessing it's some sort of hippie, druggy, whatever vibe. I don't know. Then Sean's right underneath. "Good times and good vibes in the court of missed opportunities." I'm not sure if it was you the other day that also had issues, not issues with, but issues understanding what the person was referring to, because I felt like we was on two different conversations. So I don't know if that's you, but I'm struggling on the ones at the moment. Super Chippies wrote, "Are they still here? If not, will they come back? If they are here, where are they?" So basically, the problem was for them is that their lifespan was dramatically shortened. Thank you, Kerry. How are you doing, Kerry? Hope you're well. Their lifespan was. I was watching the Continental, the new series about John Wick. It was a little bit slower, a lot slower than John Wick. So I kind of thought, oh, my mind's wandering. So I'll come on here. So yeah, basically, I don't think they've left. But the life expectancy of them was dramatically reduced being on Earth compared to their own planet. So I imagine that many of them went back. A lot of the offspring, as we would call them, demigods, obviously live here on Earth, so they wouldn't have took them back. So we're pretty much run by direct descendants of Anunnaki, if not Anunnaki themselves, or gods, if you want to call them by their race name that they called themselves many times. Which makes sense, because obviously the Bible talks about them as well. Benny's wrote, "The block papyrus, my guy." Is that the one I was just referring to? There's a bit of papyrus where it talks about moving a block down. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. Lewis has wrote, "Hello, what's the difference between animals with eyes on the side of their head versus the front?" From what I understand, obviously I'm not a biologist. Damn it, Jim, I'm not a doctor. But it's to do with the ones on the side, I think, were for prey, and the ones facing forward. I'm very generalisation, this obviously, but generally that was what I'd heard about, when I was researching into dinosaurs and stuff. So the creatures that seem to have more forward-facing eyes are more predators. Now, again, I'm just going by what I was reading up on. And generally, the ones on the side can see a 360 degree, or not necessarily always, but a wider field of view, ready for the something coming from a long distance away. Whereas the predators had a narrower view, but transfixed on it and can. Alfred wrote, "Oh, so I never thought you would stoop so low." Not sure what that was for. Sorry. Sorry, Alfredo. My brain's probably going tonight. So I'm ruining everyone's jokes here. Sean has wrote, "No more beer, apparently politically correct. God knows why." Oh, Alfredo's wrote, making the Star Trek jokes. Oh, no, I can't help it. Alfredo, I'm sorry, but I have to. And don't forget, Alfredo, to live long and prosper. So going back to Sean's point, no more beer, apparently politically incorrect. God knows why. I don't know. I don't drink beer. I like to keep the temple pure, as they say. So I don't follow that, I'm afraid. But yeah, I don't. If someone wants to drink, it's up to them as long as they don't hurt someone else. Alfredo's wrote, "It's my life, Jim, but not as we know it." It's life, Jim. Yes. Yeah, that would have been Bones, DeForest Kelly, playing. Anyone know his name in Star Trek? I'm sure you all do. Alfredo wrote, "That silly little PhD student was a bit mixed up, I think. Wasn't she? I only stopped at 3 minutes in and I'd already pulled her up on, like, Christ knows how many things. I couldn't watch anymore because obviously when she started off on the foot that saying that we have abundance of evidence of how crazy how the pyramids were built." Thoffers wrote, "Hey, I've got information for you." Forgive me, Thoth, because there is a couple of Thoths. Are you the same Thoth that we've spoken before, where you pointed me to places and I sort of looked at them and then still decided that my information was more correct than the places that you was pointing to? Let me know what roughly it's about, and then I can. Oh, Thoth then wrote, "Let me join." I won't be on too long, Thoth. And the things, if you are the same Thoth, forgive me if you're not. But it kind of ended up down a religious road, if I remember correctly, and it just didn't work for me. Sean has wrote, "Anyway, yes, put it on HBO." I'm guessing that's the Continental. I don't know. Sorry, I'm struggling here with mixed conversations. Alien Driller #1 has put good evening, and what a cool name. Hi, Alien Driller. Sean has wrote, "Oh, I like that show on Netflix, Clicks Fingers. The Invisibles, no." And then wrote, "The Gazoo Pazarops." And then Sean's wrote, "I can hear your lying voice." Sean, I am really struggling. I don't know if you're talking to me or something. I'm really, really struggling with what you're saying. I don't know whether, because you put that in quotes, I'm guessing that's like something from a TV show or something. Might have been from the Continental, but I haven't watched all of it yet, I'm afraid. Gary's wrote, "TikTok series." I'm really struggling tonight. Sarah's wrote, "Anunnaki started in Babylon, Iraq now." Technically, when you say they technically started in a place called Eridu, which wasn't Babylon. Babylon actually came along after the Anunnaki had set up all their places in Mesopotamia. So Babylon, as a city, was way down the line. But obviously, the Babylon had humans in it, whereas the Anunnaki, so if you're referring to the first place of civilization, then technically it was Sumer with a H. We call it Sumer. So yeah, I'm really struggling tonight. Sean's wrote, yes, it is. Again, it was probably something I said, and you've agreed with me. I'm not sure. I'm really struggling here. Sean and then putting in something in inverted commas. Sometimes he says that's right. I'm sorry, don't hate me. It's probably me. Sires wrote, sorry if I come across as ignorant. This is the first time I'm hearing all about this. No, not at all. I know it's really sad that we've got 2 million tablets that many of them are in, and I mean many, there's 230,000 in the British Museum alone. And the British Museum has the tablets, such as the ones where they're going to go, the Anunnaki got tired of mining for gold for their atmosphere to sprinkle, and actually decide to create humans. And the other tablet that's amazing that they've got in the British Museum is the one where Enki tells the reed wall, not Noah, he wasn't allowed to, because some of the other tablets say that there was an assembly and he begrudgingly had to admit defeat and say, okay, I will not tell the humans of the impending deluge, great flood. So he goes and tells his son, half human son, from a human woman. So this alien Enki tells his Zazudra, which was Noah, but he talks to the wall, the reed wall, so that he doesn't destroy the oath that he's told the assembly that he wouldn't tell any humans, but he goes and tells a wall. So crafty little bugger. So we've got all of these tablets, and we've got the dimensions in the same tablet. We've got the dimensions of the ark and how he needs to build it and what he needs to do, etc. But of course, mainstream ain't going to tell us that. I mean, it's there. The head curator of the British Museum's read it out because he can read Sumerian. It's on YouTube. But obviously, mainstream, when you get mainstream involved, they will not want to tell anyone. Sean has wrote in inverted commas, before you wreck yourself, Sean. I am really struggling with Sean's comments. I don't know if it's me. Forgive me. Can I just ask if anyone else is understanding where Sean's coming from? Because it's probably me. I'm being silly, maybe. The Watchers wrote, did they build the pyramids? Yes, they did. Yeah, so there's a book called The Lost Book of Enki, which Zachariah Sitchin wrote, and he could read many different languages. And apparently, I haven't read the same translations as him. I've read many, but not all of the ones, because he could just go to Baghdad Museum, for example, or Israel Museum, and just pick up a tablet and read it as if he was picking up a book or a newspaper. And not all of them has been translated anyway, so he's translated many of them along with other people, so we can verify that the ones that he has translated is correct. And he said that Ningazida, one of the Anunnaki, designed the pyramids. They'd done a test one first, smaller one, which would have been the small one in the Giza Plateau. And then when that was successful, they decided to do the bigger one, which worked. And the bigger one was made as a beacon for light, as well as probably a power source of some description. Oh, sorry, someone pinned something. I just saw that flick off there. I'm so sorry. I was looking away while I waffle on. So if someone wants to pin that, whoever that was. Gary's wrote, where do I get the Book of Enki audiobook? So if you're referring to the Lost Book of Enki, sorry, Alfreda's wrote, sir, check my comments to him. Okay, all right, we'll do that. That was to Sean. Unofficially, because obviously Zachariah Sitchin's books deserve the credit and the money that people buy, even though he's passed. So it may be on Audible. However, unofficially, people have read out the whole book on YouTube in parts. They do it. They call it Tablet 1, Tablet 2, Tablet 3. I think it goes up to full 13 or 14 tablets. So it's quite long. I mean, it's not a short book by any. Thank you, whoever's doing the hearts. You don't have to. So yes, unofficially YouTube, but officially probably Audible. Sahars wrote, Are you saying the Anunnaki are ruling the world behind the scenes? I'm saying possibly. There's whistleblowers. So I've been doing this for 40 years. And I think someone just pinned something as well. I keep looking away. I'm so sorry, guys. It's just I try not to stare at this little screen for 5 hours when I do these lives. So whistleblowers have said that there's reptilian aliens in charge. Now, whether or not that's true, thank you, Mr. King. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Now, there are a couple of people that have said the Anunnaki are reptilian, and therefore that would make sense. But there's absolutely zero evidence. I mean, we've got carvings of the Anunnaki. We know what they look like. They look like us, except taller, because we was made in their image, which it basically says in the Bible. So there's no evidence whatsoever from my point of view of the Anunnaki being any kind of reptilians whatsoever. So it's possible reptilians and Anunnaki are pulling the strings behind the scenes, or it's possible that the Anunnaki did pull the strings until the reptilians came and then let them take over it. So it's hard to know, but I do think the Anunnaki, we're their creations. I don't think they let us go that easy. Sarah's right. I saw many evidence proved they already communicate through Stargate. I still struggle with the Stargate side of it. I really do. It's not to say they don't, but I struggle. I'd like to see the evidence, because you wrote, I saw many evidence proved they already communicate through Stargate. I'm very careful on how I word things. I probably, because now I'm asking you for the evidence that's proved that they're there, and obviously the only thing you probably do, and forgive me, I'm not knocking you, is you'll probably point me to a YouTuber or something, without actually having evidence, really. I mean, redacted, probably, classified documents, maybe I'd probably accept. But I don't know where you got that evidence from. I'd be very interested to know, Sarah, if you could let me know. Kerry's right, I'm good, thanks, although I'm still at work. I should have to work on my birthday week. Oh, well, I don't know what day it is, but I'm guessing it's sometime this week. Many happy returns if I don't talk to you. What's it like being 19? When you get there, let me know. Bart has wrote, God means government ordnance department. The problem with I hear where you're going with that, but the problem with that is we actually have original tablets. So unless the government decided probably 100 odd years ago to name something Government Ordnance Department in order to have the letters GOD, I would find it. I mean, because literally you could, I could pick car and then make out 3 words to do with that. You could do anything with any letters. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that was done deliberately. David wrote, reptilians on the interior. I mean, I have heard that. I've heard many different stories of reptilians living inside the earth. But there's, what was his name? Edgar Poe wrote the Tarzan book, and that was the first sort of proper mention of reptilians being, for Tarzan, being in the inner earth. So before that, you've got Nagas, which are in India, but they're not really, reptilian humanoids. They're more just snakes. So you kind of haven't really got anything reptilian that we can sort of definitely prove on. So it's really difficult. Sorry if I'm stuttering my words. I'm just being careful how I answer it. But I would probably, the whistleblowers and everything that I've listened to, I would probably say no. I mean, I might be wrong, but there's just not enough evidence out there for me to say for sure that there's definitely reptilians in the inner earth. Scrolling down. Alfredo's read that. Star Trek jokes. It's left Jim read that one. Lewis has wrote, is there a way to know which animals came from the gods? Well, the ones that I've found is a good question. You're number one in the class for that, Lewis. So the ones that I've found are sheep, goats, horses, possibly octopus. They're the only ones that I've read any kind of. And you've probably seen one of my latest videos where I literally show again the translations of them saying that will bring down or have brought down, and that's just one of there's many different translations on different texts saying the same thing. So it's not just a one-off. They I think I've probably read about 5 now talking about them bringing barley down. So those are the ones that I'm aware of. Now, it's possible they may have brought other species down without bothering writing it down, or that I've not read. But just so happens that those sheep, goats and horses have also fused chromosomes, same as us humans, which they genetically modified. So I can kind of see the logic that those would have been brought down. Now, the horses, I think the ones we've got now are different species to the ones that actually brought down. Because there is actual fossils of, I've done a video on my Patreon page about mermaids, and I actually showed the horses that was before these horses that we have now, and they had sloped backs, and the carvings on the walls and on pottery, etc., showed horses with sloped backs. So I think they were the ones from Mars, and these are modified. And if you watch my mermaid video, I show that they. Scientists have agreed that the horses there that they'd found, these ancient skeletons of those slightly different type of horses, had genetics, something to do with their genetics. Go watch the video, it's on my Patreon page. But the point is, domesticated horses or horses that we've got now have fused chromosomes. So we've got a previous horse where scientists say there's something not quite right with it, meaning some sort of genetics, and then we've got a modern horse which has got fused chromosomes just like us, and of course we've got a missing link as well. So it does make sense that those animals came from not Earth, and also they're the same ones that also have those slit eyes, proper slit eyes, rectangle, as opposed to a cat type eye or a lizard eye. But so it's a good question, but they're the only ones I'm aware of. Gary's wrote, spirit helps clear out mind. I don't know if it's to do with drink spirit or a spirit getting inside, and because I've never heard a spirit helping clear the mind, but I might be, there may be. Joey's wrote, Nicholas Tesla enjoyed the odd spirit, so yes, he was well into spirits, wasn't he? So was Houdini as well. They were very into it to try and figure out the afterlife. Sean Smart has wrote, Hi Sean Smart, thank you for joining. This is live, I'm reading every single question out, everybody. Unlike most TikTokers, if you take the time to write it, I will take time to read it. Joey's wrote, I heard a theory that the Anunnaki are the Akkadians. No, so basically the way it works is the Anunnaki were gods. That's their race name. But the team, they were given a team name for those here that was on Earth, was called Anunnaki. So obviously that they still need a race name. So that their race name was gods, as written everywhere. Sorry, it scrolled all the way to the bottom. Someone muted someone. Cranky Dankety got muted. Sorry, now I've got to scroll all the way back to wherever I was. Sorry about this.
WhatsApp. Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
Sorry, someone sent me a WhatsApp. Typical. Sorry, I just got to find where I was now. That's what happens when it mutes. Where was we? Arcadians, wasn't it? Nearly there, everybody. Hi from Sean. Okay, yeah. No, so the Anunnaki came here. Arcadians were just another civilization, culture, another area. I guess it's, back then, even though a lot of the land masses, a lot of the territories were all joined together, so Turkey, Israel, Egypt, etc., were all technically joined by landmass that you could walk across. So for us now, we would say England, Wales and Scotland, because even though it's the same landmass, we've divided it up. And the same goes with Assyrians, Akkadians, Babylonians, Sumerians. They all had their own areas, and then within those areas they had their own names. So Canaanites, Israelites, or Enulites as it was properly called, and so on. So each of those had their own sort of name. So no, the Anunnakis wouldn't have been the Akkadians. Scrolling down, Michael's wrote, is Enlil Jahve Odin, Zeus, among others, and also the evil one. Enlil was more evil. It's hard to say evil. If you call someone that's happy to wipe out a whole race evil, then then Enlil would be evil. Was Enlil Zeus? Yes. Was Enlil Odin? I think Enki was Odin from my research. And I'm guessing the JHVE was Jehovah, maybe. More than likely Enlil was, because Enlil was the one that was from Egypt. He was, not Egypt, Israel. So he was the Egyptian, I've just done it again. He was the Israel God that's in the Bible. So if you actually read the Bible, it comes up with the Israel God, which is pretty silly to write that when you've got this omnipotent being that can do whatever he wants and wipe us out at any point, and tries to many, many times, for a real God, if there was such a thing. So this entity that has created everything, apparently, according to what people want to believe, and then in the Bible we call him the Israel God. I mean, seriously, did no one think, hang on a minute, if he's the Israel God, is there another God? And of course, as you go down the Bible, you realise that God tries to make sure that there's only one God out there. So, and that's because of obviously the fighting between the Anunnakis trying to all become the one ruler. Really, it's just Marduk and Enlil. JT wrote, what do you think of the Tatarian theory? So yeah, Tatarian was an empire, Mongolian empire, 500 years ago. They didn't have the tech that people seem to attribute, in my opinion. I've asked for evidence, I've looked for evidence. None whatsoever is presented. The mud floods, people were using pictures of buildings that were cut into mud or cut into rock and pretending that they were mud flooded over. And once you have to lie, it's game over, just forget it. It's like all those videos of people that's going missing. You've probably seen them. I mean, I've just totally destroyed the bus one, but, debunked it. But the point is, when you look at these videos, just to help anyone that's listening, when you look at these videos, notice the camera. The camera is always locked because it takes 2 seconds to cut at any point you want when you've got a camera locked. And obviously people are getting, some of those are getting, thousands, millions of views. So all it takes is me and my mates just to get the security camera down where I work and say, hey guys, look, everyone stay dead still. I'm going to run away for a split second, carry on recording, job done, or edit that out, and then ask them to pretend that they're hunting for me. So please don't fall for any of that missing people thing. And don't fall for the Tatarian theory unless someone actually gives you proper evidence of that. Scrolling down. Kerry's wrote, it's not just you, boss. Thank you, Kerry. That was me struggling with Sean's comments. It was like he was on a different plane of existence. Thank you. I'm glad it wasn't just me. Sorry if you hear the kettle in the background. My daughter's walked in and I'm sure she's going to offer to make me a cup of tea. Hint, hint. If not, I'll let everyone know that my daughter doesn't love me anymore. I'm joking. She's moaning now. I'm joking. Time check from Jane is 7:50 p.m. Thank you, Jane. I'm 15 minutes behind. Nice of you to join, Jane. I hope you're well. I hardly ever talk to you, Jane, do I? It's normally you sort of come on, you give me the time, and I feel really bad because I don't really talk to you. Some of the others I talk to in the background, in private chats and stuff, but I never really talk to you, so I hope you're well. Our main conspirators wrote, I'm at work, but I'm here to listen to our favourite researcher. Thank you. You'll be pleased to know I've been told by the author of that amazing book, the Black Ops, Aliens, Spirits, Bigfoots, and Our Untold History book, the one that's actually a bestseller. I say a bestseller. He says it's a bestseller. Anyway, I've been told by him just today that the some of the chapters that he's done, one on mermaids, and I was chatting to the author, and there's some things in there that I've not even put in my video on my Patreon page. This author is amazing. And I think he nails it perfectly. I think he goes above and beyond the video that I've done on my Patreon page. But also, we was chatting about the chapter, because it's the second book's called forgive me for this, Mermaids, Giants, something, Mermaid Giants, Ghosts, Pixies, and Our Untold History. Obviously, it will cover more than that, but they're the subjects. And we was chatting about the Giants today, and again, his book has got more stuff than my videos has. He's a genius. So I will let you know when that book is out. Okay, not end of the advert there for that guy's book. Not Kissers wrote, what about Göbekli Tepe? So I'm guessing you're asking, is it really that old? What's it for? What about the other tepes? Because there's not just Göbekli Tepe, there's other tepes out there. So looking at that, I've done a video. No one's told me I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but no one's told me I'm wrong. Using all the evidence that I have, the logic and the location of where they are compared to where people would have been around that period of time, and the fact that archaeologists believe that they had a top over them, so in other words they were sealed, and also add to that I've looked up whether or not the Anunnaki actually had the word silo, in other words somewhere to store their grain, their animals, their food, and lo and behold, the Anunnaki, if you watch my videos or go and look up the translations, they had silos to put their food, their grain, etc. in. So I alone conclude that that's what they were designed for. Makes sense to me, because there was no settlements there. Now, the benefit of that is pesky humans won't go in and eat it, so they had to do it far enough away. And yes, obviously it was more than likely pre-flood, because the Anunnaki's been here for 450,000 years. You can't expect them to not design and build a silo to store their food, etc. So, yeah, I do think they're that old. I think we're lucky enough to have found them. It was only because things were sticking out the top of Göbekli Tepe, where some stones were still sticking out, that they even bothered digging there. So you can see that a great flood could have brought sand, dirt, mud, silt, etc., and covered over the whole area, which is what generally happens when you have a deluge, not a flood. So yes, so the answer to your question is watch my videos. I go through the process of explaining why the Göbekli Tepe and the others were silos. And I think the carvings on them was just either possibly decorative or what's in each of the compartments or each of the areas. So in other words, like, hey, what's in door number 1? Well, we've got this little creature or whatever, because they had carvings of boars and stuff like that inside the tepes. So it makes sense that if you're going to keep some animals, you don't want other animals getting at them, so you basically lock them in. Mr. King has wrote, hello everyone. Hello, Mr. King. John PD has wrote, is that? I'm sorry, John. I don't know. Maybe you accidentally pressed send before you finished it. Sorry. So all it says is that. Mr. King has wrote, how's everyone? I'm not too bad. I hope everyone is okay. Joey's wrote, to me it seems that the Anunnaki are in control, using us like a farm. I wouldn't say they're using us like a farm. I would probably say other aliens would be doing that. I can't imagine the Anunnaki, after going through everything they've done, they may have took the odd person back to their planet as slaves, but they did abolish slavery. That's what it said in the Lost Book of Enki. So if they stuck by their word, then technically we wouldn't be a farm to them if they stuck by their word. John PD has wrote, what the Egyptian hieroglyphics depicted. I'm sorry, John. It's you wrote what the Egyptian hieroglyphics depicted. Was that to do with building the pyramids? Because there's no hieroglyphs whatsoever for anything to do with the pyramids. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Sorry. Not Kisses wrote, go back to Tepe again. Hopefully I've answered that. Cocabella, or Cocabelle, has wrote, the Anunnaki are not reptilian. I 100% agree with you. I mean, literally, when you look at the carvings of them, there's not one scowl on them, but yet they've got intricate details on them. In fact, some of the carvings, I don't know if you guys know this, but they actually wear a fish suit. Literally, in the carvings, they have basically a massive fish that would have been sliced through its belly. This is the description that I'm doing. Whether or not that was a real one, whether or not it's symbolic, I don't know. And so the fish head would be on top of their head, and they're sort of wearing it like a cloak, really. But anyway, the point was there's scales on that fish. So if the Anunnaki had any kind of scales, you would have thought they would have bothered putting them on at least one of the 1,000 carvings of them. Sahar has wrote, you mentioned the involvement of the Vatican as well. Are you saying religious groups are affiliated? So what I think happened was Abraham, as one of the first religious people, basically decided to set up his own hey, I know the gods, because if you, long story, I don't want to go into too much, but basically he was put in front of the gods. In fact, he was actually arguing with them at one point. But anyway, so from my point of view, he decided to set up his own, hey, if everyone's following Marduk, if everyone's following whoever, I'll make people follow me. And so I think that's what he done. And then obviously other people over time decided, hang on a minute, that's not a bad idea. And people would start doing their own religions as such. I have a feeling back then it wasn't religions, it was more, hey, I know, the God XYZ, and he talks to me, so therefore you come and follow me. And I think that's probably how it started. In fact, to be honest, that's still how it is now, isn't it? I mean, really, we go to church and we go under a religion, but it's them saying that they speak to God. So, in a way, so it's no different, really. But yeah, so with regards the Vatican, I think looking at the way the Anunnaki built their cities, etc., etc., with temples, the temples seem to be square, whereas the cities used to be round. So I have a feeling that the Vatican originally, the building was square. I mean, we can see that in the Egyptians. Not always dead square, but I mean, it's not round. So we can see that in India, we can see that in Babylon, we can see it everywhere, basically. They didn't make round buildings as opposed to. So the Vatican would have matched, when you look at the original outline of what the original Vatican was way back before it became a massive city. It was just that same sort of style building that they had in Israel and they had everywhere. So I think one of the Anunnaki, set up a temple there, and for some reason or other ended up maybe hearing about other religions out there and decided that he shall now make a religion. Obviously, I'm being a bit clutching at straws, but that's my logic where it goes, because just that's everything matches the fact that Rome would have been the last place that the Anunnakis would have been in, and stuff like that. So, and the fact that the Vatican has two telescopes looking up, two of the most powerful telescopes looking up into space. Really, what are they looking for? Father Christmas? I mean, let's be honest. What would they be looking for? Father Christmas? No. God? No. Or planets? I think the planet side. Sorry, Kenzie, who's asked him to do a live. I've got 41% on my battery, and I'm only got 40 minutes left.
WhatsApp. Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
Sorry, I'm pressing all sorts of buttons now. Sorry, scrolling down to, because I like to. Once there's lots of questions, I like to answer every single question as best I can. Joey's right. How true history? Have you heard of the Akashic records? I have. I mean, there's some people that say that it was under the Sphinx. Some people say that they're in the ether. So basically, this is, for those of you who don't know, the Akashic record supposedly is everything about your life as well as everyone else's. So it's a library of everything that you've done, thought, will do. I mean, I'm not saying that's not possible, but I certainly don't think it's under the Sphinx paw. If you've got, I don't think if it's genuine, it would nothing to do with the Anunnaki, because they weren't that technologically advanced to steal the Akashic records and then decide to stick them under the Sphinx paw. So think about it. I mean, this is everyone's life, apparently. Who would have that? Would that be an alien race? No, it really would have to be either an almighty being, and who the hell would allow us to be handling these Akashic records? I mean, you could say, well, some people have said that they've accessed the Akashic records, possibly by accident. So that's a possibility. But the other option, then, if it's not God, would be just the way things happened, and therefore it's now, for all we know, string theory might be possible, and we might be connected to this Akashic record, which is really just another orb, for example. And sometimes we can access that Akashic record. So it doesn't necessarily mean there has to be a God in control of that Akashic record. It just may be something as simple as string theory. Sihars wrote, also, from what I understand, the Anunnaki are different to the reptilians. There's two types of reptilians that I've heard about. Ones are about 7 foot tall, no horns, don't wear any clothes, and look like basically a lizard man. And then the other ones, which are the Dracos, have horns, wear cloaks, 9 foot tall, and evil, for want of a better word. So imagine Swab, Mr. Klaus, and then imagine an evil. I'm just going to have a drink. One sec. Oh, didn't put enough sugars in it. So last time I get my daughter to make me tea. Not kisses. Can you speak on completely tippy? Hopefully you heard me earlier. Coca Bell has wrote, can I ask your opinion on the black satellite? I know there's people, that's done video recently, such as the Y-Files on the Black Knight satellite, if I'm not mistaken. But I still struggle because there's so many people out there say that it's ancient, and I think on his show he was referring to it as it's millions of years old. But we have to be sensible and say, okay, the earliest we're aware of is the moment that we're aware of it. We can't just add dates to it. So there was definitely something up there that NASA admitted to. Supposedly it weighs X amount of tons, and supposedly it's still there. But anyone from the military, if they've got the capabilities of having like the TR-3B's anti-gravity craft, which I definitely believe they do, and they can take people to Mars and they can take people to the moon, etc. They're not just going to leave tech floating around our Earth unless it's either self-destructive, or it will affect their craft, or they've been warned not to touch it. So they're the only reasons I can think off the top of my head why the Black Knight satellite would still be in orbit, a polar orbit. So it's otherwise the military would have put that thing down and dissected it forever and ever. So I can't imagine it being there still, because so many people now. I mean, there's you can buy these little zoom lenses to go on a phone and actually see stuff on Mars. So, all it takes is us to be at the right angle to see this Black Knight satellite, hopefully with the sun shining on it, otherwise it'd be difficult to see. But, what I'm trying to say is there's people out there now that would be able to see it again and say, look, look what I found. So, I don't know, there's so many people with massive telescopes, in their back gardens, that all it takes is them to record and show it online, which, in fairness, people have showed UFOs online coming in and out of the moon. A lot of those get taken down by YouTube, obviously, because YouTube don't want us to know the truth. But so if there was a craft of some description, whether it's even a probe or just a bit of space junk from another alien race, I have a feeling that it would have probably been nabbed by the military by now. Just scrolling down. People chatting to each other. Joey's right. I thought the reptilians, humanoids, were cherubims or seraphims. I don't think so. I'll tell you what, go number 2 in the class for that. It's a very good point. What I should do is I should spend a day working out what the cherubims are. Now I know they mention them, but then again, also they mention, or the translations mention angels. Of course, we know angels were messengers, so the chances of the cherubim were probably just another name for something else. I can't imagine them being exactly what we imagine them to be. So I think one day I will do that. So yeah, I can't answer that, but I don't think they would be reptilians, because again, they spoke about cherubims, but they never. In fact, technically, the cherubims should be on the Ark of the Covenant. They're the 2 winged things, but we've associated them with wings because obviously the Anunnaki had wings in some carvings, the Egyptians had wings in some carvings. So, sticking down a cherubim that can fly associated with wings makes sense, and that's where we probably get the cherubs from with the little wings. So yeah, that's something I don't really know the answer to. I don't know what the cherubims are. Something I should really look into. So thank you for that. Number 2 in the class, but I don't have an answer for you, I'm afraid. Alfredo wrote, did anyone see the Mal version of that last week? Not sure what that's referring to, Alfredo. I'm a bit behind, sorry. Joey's wrote, I also heard that our Creator has unearthly beings, i.e. seraphim, cherubims, do his work. Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to the Creator of everything, possibly. But if you're referring to the Creator that's in the Bible, absolutely not, because they weren't the Creator of everything. They wrote a story, or they wrote what happened to our planet, and it's in the British Museum, the new release. So they tell us what happened to how our planet was formed, how our solar system was formed. So if the Bible's copying anything, it's copying that from that part, and then it also mixed in with when Enki said, after 6 days of working here, let's have a day of rest on the 7th. So we've got all of that. So it makes sense that they're not the ones that created the universe, in which case they wouldn't be the ones having cherubim working for them, because they actually created us to do their work. So if they already had a species to do their work, they wouldn't have bothered using us. So I would say no to the Anunnaki having anyone else. Random ordinary person has wrote, would you speak about dragons? So dragons, the original word for dragons was a comet. And if you watch my videos, or just go look up myths, it's called Myths from Mesopotamia. It's also called Arthrohouses, depending on who. It's long story. But yeah, basically, there's many translations of dragons from the oldest text, and they're normally in space, and they have a tail that's like 300 miles long. So that's what a dragon originally was. That was what the Anunnaki called a dragon. A demon was a meteorite that came into Earth's atmosphere. So that's demon and dragon sorted. Over time, demon became used for a word of something evil. Bill Gates. So they used the word demon. Now, there were, in my opinion, dinosaurs still here on Earth. I don't think they all died out 66 million years ago, because we've got so much evidence. We've got carvings on temples, we've got carvings on pyramids, we've got carvings on stones, 40-odd thousand of them. We've got, thank you whoever keeps doing the hearts. We've got, I'm just going to go into the bedroom to just put my phone on charge. It probably won't do it, will it? I'm sorry, one sec. Now I'm dropping everything. Sorry guys, I really need to be more organised. I was using, this is my other phone today. So, sorry, right, I plugged it in. Just the Dirt Diggers wrote crocodiles. There was definitely enough evidence for me, let alone footprints with human footprints at the same time, to say that there was species here that we would now call dinosaurs. So I have a feeling that the dinosaurs or the dragons ended up being used as the name for dinosaurs back then. That's what I think. Down the line, obviously there is. See, you look at like the Chinese dragon that can fly, and you look at a dragon, with wings that we would associate like a wyvern or a normal dragon. Why would they have wings if they're dinosaurs? Well, because the original word for dragon was something in space that would be flying through. So, again, when you look at the Anunnaki with wings, when they're depicted with wings, did someone carve once a dragon with wings because people didn't go up into space that often, other than the Anunnaki. So I'm just throwing ideas out there that that's possibly how it all started. But so I think dragons per se, because obviously dragons are 6 appendages, and we don't normally have anything with 6 appendages. A wyvern possibly, which has got 2 legs and 2 arms, but to have a creature with 2 legs and 2 arms, we don't have. So I think there probably was flying dinosaurs still, but not like a dragon. I think the weight of a dragon would just be, it would have to be absolutely massive. Because if you look at how us humans have tried to fly, even riding a bike using pedal power, the wingspan for the lift has to be massive. Obviously, because we only have our own power, and so would a dragon. Whereas a plane has thrust, etc., and doesn't flap its wings, so it doesn't need to have that kind of lift. It can glide. But whereas a dragon would have to lift itself off the ground unless it found a very tall hill and decided to paraglide. So I think dragons were dinosaurs back in the day, if that helps. Scrolling down, Michael's wrote, is Enlil? I read that one. But you also then wrote Enki. This is the same as what you wrote before, but added Enki was the snake in Eden. No. Well, tell you what, go number 3 in the class for that. So there was a serpent in the literal translation of the Bible. So forget any other version. It was called a serpent, not Satan or anything else. Forget those versions. And it was basically warning Adam and Eve not to do certain things. Now, Enki would have been Adam's father, and the Sitchin's version is that they took Adam over to see Enlil in the Garden of Eden. Now, there's possibly more than one Garden of Eden, so in which case it could be talking about 2 different things. But the fact that Adapa, which was Adam, that was his name in the ancient texts, the fact that Adam went over to see Enlil and was kicked out of the Garden of Eden, as it was originally pronounced, suggests to me that that is the same story as the Adam and Eve story, and I don't know whether Eve actually was even there. So if you believe Sitchin's version, Eve wasn't mentioned. That's not to say she wasn't there, but I think that was probably the same story. And obviously the knowledge, which again, read the Young's literal translation, it's to do with knowledge. And Sitchin's version is that Adam, because he was wearing some sort of loincloth, he was self-aware. Whereas before that, for the 200,000 years before that, with all the humans walking around, they were naked. Every single one of them was naked. And didn't have modesty or anything like that. So, and because if you believe Sitchin's version, that the offspring of the Anunnaki and the humans, when they bred, was more civilized. That's his words, not mine. Don't hate me. Therefore, obviously, Enki ended up teaching Cain and Abel. Well, he didn't teach them, but he got Cain and Abel to learn how to do agriculture and farming and looking after cattle, both of them, each. So they were smarter than what the humans were before that. Otherwise, he would have probably got them to do it and look after the livestock and all that kind of stuff. So taking Adapa over to see Enlil in a place where Enlil probably had his spaceships and whatever else, kicked out for knowledge, I think that makes sense. So would it have been, if there was a serpent, would it have been Enki trying to warn them not to eat stuff? Possibly, because he did warn Adapa, again in ancient texts, I've read the translations, he did warn Adam, when Adam was going off to Nibiru. yes, Nibiru, their home planet, in the tablets, read it. He warns him not to eat or drink what's given to him by King Anu on their home planet, because it would probably kill him. So he's been warned already. Now, does the Bible mix those two up? Possibly. The Bible has mixed a lot up, especially Book of Revelations and stuff. So, it's totally possible that, because obviously they've got these tablets and they will probably just mix the two together. One could be 1,000 years apart, but there's no dates on them. So they wouldn't have known. So they would have went, right, okay, that looks like part of the story. Because you've got to remember, the story happened 100,000 years before the Bible was written. So, so there's no way of them knowing exactly what happened other than what the translations are. And of course, they won't know where the translations begin and stop. So they would mix stuff that they thought looked good together. So I think that's really the answer. Dwayne, I think it is, wrote, what's your thoughts on the supposed Tatarian Empire? Hopefully you heard me earlier. There was an empire, it was a Mongolian empire 500 years ago. No mud floods suddenly wiped out in my opinion, a technically advanced race that we've got no evidence whatsoever of a technically advanced race. There was one person that said that there was a Tesla-type tower. That was about it. So I think people have just done a run with that and made up whatever they wanted. Alfredo wrote, time check 6 a.m. Sydney Eastern Standard Time. What are you doing up so early, Alfredo? Hopefully you're going to be off to work doing some good hard grafting today. Dwayne's wrote, Bill Gates is definitely evil, laugh out loud. I would 100% agree with you there. William William 007 has wrote, I thought Zeus is Enlil. Yeah, that's what I thought I said. Yeah, Zeus is Enlil, and Poseidon was Enki. Jane has given me 8 p.m. time check. Oh, I'm gone behind, waffling on, haven't I? Sorry, Jane. Thank you. Kill every. So I'm not going to read the rest of that. False gods ? Who is your one true God, or don't you believe? Well, I'm lucky enough to have been studying the ancient texts that predate the Bible, and not just me, other people have, and you see the original texts that the Bible talks about in the ancient texts. So once you know that, and you do a little bit more research, you find out that they were called gods, which is no different from us being called humans. I don't know why people go all funny over that. Oh, blasphemy. No, it's just they've got to have a race name, So once you realise that they're the gods, as Genesis 1:26 clearly stated, and then we have the tablets that talk about the floods and how Noah had to build his boat and everything else, way before the Bible came along, you realise, no, there's no God in terms of what's written in the Bible. Joey's wrote, Zeus had many names, man. You mean Enlil had many names? I'm guessing because obviously Enlil would have been Zeus, but Enlil would have been the first name, so probably better to say Enlil had many names, man. Clem has wrote, hello, Alfredo. Oh, someone likes Alfredo or knows Alfredo. William has wrote, is Odin the same as Zeus? I did mention earlier, I think Odin was Enki. And the reason for that is because I think Thor was Marduk, his son. And I think Nagol was Loki, who was his brother. And them two hated each other, which makes sense again in Norse mythology. In fact, Nagol was one that went round, if I'm not mistaken, with the 7 nuclear weapons and helped Ninurta bomb. So, and this was his brother, and helped bomb all these cities to try and kill Marduk. But the reason why it would have been Thoth is because there was a period where he was sent away to a different land, and I think that's probably when he went to Scandinavia and stayed there for, and it wasn't just a short period, it's a long period, but to us, or to them it's a short period, to us it was probably probably 10,000 years. But to them, it was probably only a year. Queen Mary's wrote Obama and Elon. I'm guessing that's a question. I'm guessing you're asking, is Obama good or bad or evil or alien or something? I don't really know too much on Obama, to be honest with you. I've heard stories that a time traveler went back and saw Obama when he was younger, and they said that he was going to be the president and stuff like that. But other than that, and Elon, I think knows a lot more than he's letting on. I think he tries to let us know in his own way. That's just my opinion. Every time I watch him, I think he's trying to let us know. He's warning us. Joey's wrote, Neptune was Zeus's brother. Poseidon's Zeus's brother, isn't it? And because Neptune is the Roman god, whereas Poseidon's the Greek god. But technically, if you agree that they're all the same people, then yes, technically you're right. Kill has wrote, you ever seen an alien in the flesh? I hate saying this because it makes me sound like a crackpot. Now I know how all these other people feel. Oh, very, very, very quickly. I was in Tunisia on my own on a business. Second night in a hotel on my own. Hate saying it. It sounds stupid. Went to bed and then my phone beeped. It was my line producer to do a film, and it was 12 o'clock because I looked at the time thinking, what time did he text me at? It was 12 o'clock, and then I went back to bed and I heard myself saying, please leave me alone, please leave me alone, please leave me alone, about 3 times. And I remember hearing myself saying, why am I saying please leave me alone? That's stupid. I actually heard myself talking to myself. It was unreal. And then I managed to open one eye and something, it sounds stupid, doesn't it? Something that possibly was an alien. I know you could say, well, hang on a minute, this guy's been studying aliens for 40 years. It's quite easy for him to imagine he saw an alien. Obviously, the first people, such as Betty and Barney Hill, didn't imagine an alien because it turns out everyone else sees the same type of alien. So, for them to have imagined the first type of alien would have been pretty clever, whereas I've seen pictures of aliens, etc. So, anyway... my arm wouldn't move. He was right by my arm. I don't know if he was doing something to it. I couldn't feel anything whatsoever. And I kind of looked as best I could at the bottom of the bed. It was dark, obviously it was night time. I think there was another one there. They both one walked down towards the end of the bed, turned right towards where the toilet and the front door is. And as soon as they turned to the door, my arm sprang up. This is what makes me think... my arm sprang up, which means I was trying to lift my arm up, and as soon as they walked round there, my arm just sprang up off the side of the bed, and so I sat up because I figured straight away that obviously whatever it was gone, and I grabbed my phone because I'm that type of person that would think, right, catalogue everything. 2 minutes had passed. Now it could have even been 1 minute as well, because obviously it could have been 12:59 by the time I put the phone down. And it could have been literally 1 minute past, or 1 second past 12:02. So either way, it was a couple of minutes for me to have suddenly got into REM sleep. Alfredo's wrote possibly gin, ? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, it really did look like little, to me, gin are... spirits of some description, like entities, like being type entities, whereas these, from my memory, looked and moved like real beings. Now I know you could say, well, go and get hypnotized, but I'm really, I like to be in control of everything, and I really wouldn't want someone poking around in there. So I don't know is the answer to your question. I might have seen one, I might not have. It was weird. Creep has wrote, will Anunnaki come back to Earth in 3036? They're here already. There's no way they would have left us alone. No way at all. So whoever keeps writing these stories down that they come in a certain year. There was a book 2 years ago that said Anunnaki coming back in 2021, and they didn't. It even said June 2020. Of course, I've been hearing this forever, so they're not going to come back. And even if they do come back, they're not going to come in and have a cup of tea with you. They're going to deal with the people in charge. That's just how it would work. So I wouldn't worry one way or another with the Anunnaki. It's more like Gates and Schwab's that I'd be worrying about. Miss Galore Nows. Oh, hi there. As wrote hi. Hi, Miss Galore Nows. Miss Galore Nows, right. I'm back, love. I missed you. Oh, that's nice. Thank you very much. And I do remember your name vividly because you was asking some good questions. So thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Hopefully you've started watching some of my videos that's on TikTok, as well as they're also on YouTube and my website. If anyone's interested in watching so much more stuff, I hate saying this because it does sound big-headed, but I am the guy that said who Jesus' father was, and no one's told me I'm wrong. I'm the person that said where Atlantis is with evidence. Again, no one's told me. So you can go to my website and find out all that kind of information. You can look on TikTok, but it'll take you forever to scroll. So my website, because everyone's sitting there with a pen and piece of paper, is ourtruehistory.co.uk. Very simple. Our True History, all one word, .co.uk. And if you want long documentaries that I've made, and they're not long and boring, trust me, but long documentaries on Easter Island and all sorts of stuff that I don't normally do on the TikTok videos that you can watch on my website. The Patreon page has loads of stuff there, and it's added to every week. So the next one this weekend is Billy Meyer Part 1. So it's quite long. I didn't realise how much involved Billy Meyer was until I had to start bloody researching it. So thank you, Jane, for posting up the my website there. So yeah, this week on Patreon will be Billy Meyer Part 1. So hopefully my Patreon users or followers or whatever you want to call them will enjoy Part 1. And then following week will be Part 2. Joey's wrote, so was the mud flood real? No. The mud floods, when it rains, mud floods, and it will will cover buildings, or at least cover half the building, depending on how much mud there is. How that stopped people's memories of an empire that was technically advanced, I have no idea. How that destroyed any books or writing of an empire that was technically advanced, I have no idea. How that mud flood ended up from Russia over to New York 200 years ago and no one remembers it, I have no idea. In other words, mud floods, yes. We don't get them now because we've got, we basically move all the mud away so that when it rains, unless you're in a country like India or somewhere that still has, hasn't managed to stop that flooding, like when they have their monsoon seasons, etc. So no, I can't see any evidence of mud flood real. I've looked at other people's videos and just thought there's no evidence here. They talk the good talk, but I kind of need evidence. It's my one problem. Trevor's wrote, how many Anunnaki came to Earth? Good question. Go number 3 in the class for that, Trevor. Well done. So originally originally 1 in order, Alula, then 50. Which included Enki, so now there was 51 on Earth. Then eventually we ended up with 900 here on Earth. Now over a long period of time, some came back, some new ones came, some older ones left, and some had children here. So Inanna and Dumuzi were born on Earth. So they still were Anunnaki, but not from their home planet. So if you go along with that, we ended up with a few thousand Anunnaki, give or take. Kill has wrote, how many aliens have visited you? As hopefully you heard me waffling on earlier. Carl has wrote, how do you define false gods? It's a good question. I'll tell you what, go number 4 in the class for that. So people, there's 2 ways of defining false gods. One is where, for example, people are believing in gods like ancient Greece people or like modern people, religious people believing in gods. Technically, they're false gods because what the religious people are believing in is something that's an almighty power, when really they're just an alien race that came here. So that's one type of false god. So they're not being lied to, but they're worshipping a false god that they think is bigger and better than what they were. And the second one is when you have some of the gods, like Marduk, trying to tell, as he was with when he was Amun-Ra, as he was with Aten, as he was with as Amen, trying to tell whoever's listening, whoever his people were at the time and wherever he was, that hey, he's the real God, therefore, meaning he's now top dog. Do not worship any other gods, and that's what Aten would be saying through Akhenaten and Nefertiti. So you have the Anunnaki themselves trying to denounce other Anunnaki as gods because they wanted power. What a Richard has wrote, ancient astronaut theorists say yes with a laughing face. The funny thing is, I'm guessing this person's done a runner now. I'm just going to have a drink. The good news is for everyone is that I have done proof, and we all know that no one's ever going to debunk that. You can't. How can you debunk it when it's written in stone? You can't. Kills wrote, why won't you answer about how many aliens you've seen in real life? So I'm guessing Kill didn't realise that I'm like 30 minutes behind, and I did answer that. Joey's wrote, is Jesus a false god? I'm confused who to believe in. So I have done a video on who I think Jesus' father was. I've put it on TikTok, I put it on YouTube, I put it on BitChute and Instagram, wherever I put it. Absolutely zero people have told me I'm wrong. What I have got is, wow, amazing research, this is interesting, but no one's told me I'm wrong. So if you believe what my research takes me, and obviously you should watch my research and then do your own research, but my research suggests that that Marduk was the creator of Jesus. Now, whether that was a hybrid or whether he actually done the deed officially with Mary, for example, my guess is he probably, I don't know. I don't know. One way or another, he did the deed with Mary, whether it was artificial insemination or what. I would probably go along with artificial insemination, and the reason for that is because when you look at Akhenaten and Nefertiti, etc., and Tutankhamun and their grandparents, they've all got the elongated skulls. And if you watch my video, you see that I propose that Marduk genetically created a newer type of human from the ones with the elongated skulls, which we know about now as sort of more modern aliens. So I think Jesus was probably part Anunnaki and part alien, but bred inside. So somehow it scrolled all the way to the bottom. I'm not sure why. Sorry. Okay, so it scrolled all the way to the top, and sorry, it scrolled. Didn't even mute anyone. So now my highest that I can read is Alfredo. There was a 6-year excavation to remove a full dragon skeleton. I'm guessing was a 6-year excavation to remove a full dragon. I'm not aware of that. you'd think if 6 years and you're aware of it, you'd think it would have been followed every year on the progress of it, wouldn't you? I mean, I've watched documentaries where they're following people just digging up a few dinosaur bones, and they make a big song and dance about it. So, if you're digging up a dragon and you're aware of it, then National Geographic, the History Channel, bloody David Attenborough, everyone would have been on the case, I would have thought. So from a logic point, Alfreda's wrote, I'll send you some info. Thank you, yeah. I do struggle with that, though. If you've got info on it, that means, the History Channel's got info. That would be every country in the world, pretty much, as mentioned dragons. So that would be right up there with, just before aliens. That would be the next biggest thing to be going wow about, and yet no one knows about it. Alfreda's wrote the Chinese are not known for sharing info. So it's in China, are you saying? Okay, I'll be interested to see that. Thank you if you can. I do agree with you. They are not known for sharing info. So yeah, okay, I'll hold my judgment then on that one. Thank you, Alfreda. And then you wrote it took place in China. Okay, I didn't read that. If I read that, I might have thought the same thing as you. No bed vibes. Hi there, nice of you to join again. They have emotional intelligence. Look up that in crocodiles. They have been here for millions of years. I'm guessing you're referring to dinosaurs. Emotional intelligence. Look up crocodiles. Well, I mean, technically everything's got some sort of intelligence. Otherwise, it would just be something lying on the floor dead. Really, I mean, even if it's the most rudimentary intelligence, it still has to have something, surely, for it to move. I guess you could say a single-celled organism doesn't really have intelligence. Or does it? I don't know. No bed vibes wrote, they claim just found out. Yeah, right, I bet they did think I read it in the paper last week. Yeah, I mean, anything that you read in the papers, probably they've already been dealing with it for many years before. BS has wrote, is it possible that the animal on the Babylon wall could have been a dragon? You've got me on that. I'm trying to remember what that was. I would need to look that up. I'm so sorry. You probably waited ages for me to get to your question, and now finally I can't remember what that one it would look like. Sorry. Kill has wrote, bro, seen too many Game of Thrones episodes. I had a feeling Kill was being a bit of a numpty when he kept saying, how many aliens have you seen? Because I have a feeling that he was going down the road. This is why I should have been, damn it, Jim, I should have been a psychiatrist. But I had a feeling that he was going down the road of, well, if you've not seen any aliens, therefore, how do you know they're real? But of course, when I told my story, he's probably changed his attack and has now put, bro, has seen too many Games of Thrones episodes. G has wrote they was black. I'm guessing you're referring to the Anunnaki. I have asked for evidence of that, and I get none, other than their beards braided. But when you realise that they actually put lapis lazuli in, and I've shown the evidence of that, doesn't necessarily mean they were black. So I will still go with them being pale skinned because everything makes sense. The fact that we're pale skinned, they bred with humans, that everything makes sense. You've probably heard me say it 1,000 times. Hardcore Stuffers wrote, if you believe in Anunnaki, then I'm sure you can believe that any DNA crossed in together creating. Sorry, I'm trying to get my head around that. If you believe in the Anunnaki, yeah, then I'm sure you can believe that any DNA crossed in together creating. I'm guessing you're saying that we can create anything because the Anunnaki were here. Well, funny enough, recently, again, more research, that's all I ever do. Scientists have actually created the first human pig. And what they'd done was they supposedly ended the experiment before it came to term. Let's be honest. No scientist is going to say, let's end this because it's would be unethical. Let's end this now and never know what the results is, even though the whole point of us doing this was to see what the results would be. But hey, it's too ethical, so you know it's ethical before you even start. So why do you think they used pigs, everybody, instead of chimpanzees, to do a half man, half human, half man, half pig? Sorry. Why do you think pig? And if you've watched my videos, you know that pig is part human already, and that's because the Anunnaki, 10,000 years ago, genetically modified wild boar with humans to create the pig that we know, because there was a food shortage over in Mesopotamia. And guess where pigs suddenly appeared? Mesopotamia. How long ago? 10,000 years. And what has pigs got similar to us? Not just similar, actually got our eyes, our teeth, our heart, and the list just goes on. Thank you, Positive Pink. That's a nice name. I've not seen your name before, I don't think. Thank you very much for the rose. And again, thank you. That's very nice of you. History and Coins. I'm going to rest tired. Sorry, still recovering. Thank you, History and Coins. Hope you're well. And again, thank you, Positive Pink. You don't have to. I do it because I enjoyed doing it. Thank you for the claps. I feel bad now. You keep doing it. No, honestly, I just do it because I enjoy doing this. But I appreciate that you're listening. Heather's wrote Eden. I think it was Edin. Yeah, Edin. That's right. Or you wrote Edin. I mean, it depends on. Okay. To be fair, I can't pronounce things. So, hands up. Yeah, guilty. That's my one flaw. Well, two flaws, because if you find me immodest, that's my second flaw. And I talk too much. Sorry. Dowers wrote, heard the Garden of Eden was in the North Pole on the Black Rock Mountain. I don't know who told you that. There's no. Technically, Eden should have been at the top of the Euphrates and the Tigris River. That's where pretty much any decent researchers pinpointed it to. At least one of them. There may have been another Eden, but that was the one that we're all aware of. So I don't think it would have been in the North Pole. There would be no point in taking Adapa to the North Pole, because that means Enlil would have had to have had a base there for him to be kicked out. So I can't see it. So whoever told you that might be wrong. Let's be honest, is wrong. Deep Souls wrote, so who was Eden? Was Eden a lab? This is why I say there might have been two Edens, or more than one Eden. So it may have just been a name for a garden, to be honest with you, for all we know. And of course, when the translations come out that it's a garden and it's and the first word is Eden, they probably called it Garden of Eden. But so the one that I'm aware of would have been at the top of Euphrates. However, if the genetics was done in a place like Garden of Eden or Eden, then there would have been one over in South Africa. Now, again, the Bible, as we know, as I've proved many a time before, is just jumbled up with things and mixes it all up. So I have a feeling that the place where they genetically modified people probably wasn't Eden, but of course he took Adapa over to Eden to show off to Enki. I mean, again, there could be two Edins, and it could just be a name for sort of a garden, for all we know, because they did have courtyards. They had everything that we've got, obviously, because they described their courtyards and whatnot, so on their planet. So we know that they had everything that we have, and guess where we learnt everything from them. So it's a fair question, Deep Soul. I'll tell you what, go number 3 in the class for that. Sorry, whoever's just got pushed out at number 3 is a good question. People chatting to each other. Heathers wrote, was Anu considered bad? Laugh out loud. So King Anu, no. He, everything that I've ever read about him, and not from other researchers, but even just the translations of their actual own tablets, he was actually quite wise. He was really wise. However, I would say Enki was wiser. And I say that because Enki, for example, when Alula bit off King Anu's private parts and swallowed them in the wrestling match, the first thought was they all wanted to kill Alula, which makes sense. But then Enki, because Enki's married to Alula's daughter, so he obviously didn't want his wife to see her dad killed, so he was the one that suggested putting Alula on Mars and leaving him there until he dies. So, but everything that I've read between the two of them, or the three main characters, I think Enki is the smartest one by far. Anu was not kind, because the way he treated Adapa, I thought was a bit rude. He basically said, "Why did you disrespect me?" Thank you, Billy the Kid. Even though I know you're not really called Billy the Kid. But yeah, the way he treated Adapa and I've read the translations where he basically said, "Why did you disrespect me by not eating and drinking?" So it's very. Thank you again, Billy the Kid, with a packet of whatever that is. So it's very Vikingish. If you imagine what the Vikings are like, where they're very stoic, and you have to be respectful in the courtroom where they're eating. And so this case, because Adapa got told not to eat and drink anything, it upset King Anu, and he said, "Why did you?" I guess the translations could come across. He might have actually just said to him, nice and politely, "Hey, why did you, say no?" But whoever wrote the translations, or whoever wrote it down in tablets, might have made it a bit more angry. But so basically, bottom line is, everything that I've read, Anu is not evil. If anyone's more nasty, it would be Enlil. Anu comes second, and then the nicer one is Enki. Scrolling down, Sharon 6 Liverpool has wrote, Hi Sharon, nice of you to join, thank you. No Bed Vibes has wrote, 34th edition of the Bible can't be trusted based on the mix of fact with fiction. Have a look at just trying to find the next part of that. Then goes on to say, see Bully Slayer, he does a lot on mud floods. It's convincing. Oh, right, okay, so that was the next. Sorry, that was. I thought it was going to continue on. Really try and read the Young's literal translation. Otherwise, you're just reading stuff that people's changed on the Bible. Ivory Rosewood has wrote, I have heard that the Anunnakis were melanated. Is this true? So everything that I've researched, every bit of logic, every fibre in my body, matches that they are pale-skinned. They created the first Homo sapiens, which were dark-skinned, no problem there. But when they bred with those dark-skinned humans that they've created 100,000 years ago, that's exactly when we got the first European people over in the Middle East, olive-skinned, possibly white-skinned. So that suggests that the Anunnaki were white. Then the descriptions of Noah, and some of the other children that they had with humans, suggest that they were white, because they were white. And I've asked for evidence of the Anunnaki being dark-skinned, none. And I've also concluded that obviously dark-skinned nearer the sun is better than pale skin that burns. So, of course, the Anunnaki wasn't on Earth. They live on their own planet, which is far enough away for them to be pale skin. So, all in all, pale skin, unless anyone's got any evidence to the contrary. No, read that one. Ivory has wrote, I've heard that the Anunnakis were melanated beings. Is true? Oh, right, okay, so wrote it twice. Wrote it 3 times. In fact, now I've just seen another one. 4 times. 5 times. 6 times. I'm surprised one of the moderators didn't tell him to stop. Scrolling down. Sharon's wrote, hi. I had to go last time, didn't get my answer. What do you think about the petrified giants? So I don't know if you've seen my latest videos on petrified giants. The first logic is, hang on, why are the giants always up against rocks? Were they just standing by a rock when they got hit by lightning that petrified them so quickly? They're never on their own. They're not just lying there. They're not just standing there. They're always inside a rock formation. You could say, well, maybe that's all his friends and there's only one part of the body that looks like a real person. So that's the first problem. Second is, no one ever shows you really the camera shot going around from the other angle. We always have one particular angle. And when you've only got one angle, anything can look like anything. I need to see video, even though there's videos, camera's been going for years. People go to these fascinating places to see these carvings or what looks like humans, giant humans, built into rocks, which I still can't get why people haven't sort of thought, hang on a minute, why is it built into the side of a cliff? Why is a giant stuck to the side of a cliff? It's just, because it's not a giant. So the answer really is no, it's not a petrified giant, in my opinion. There's just too many logical things that just say no. Until someone shows me video footage all the way around and it still looks exactly the same every angle, then I'll probably change my tune. But until that happens, it would just be one angle that someone's captured something at. Heather's wrote, I'm currently reading the tablets and I'm in love with them. Oh, which tablets is that? Is that sort of like the Lost Book of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or just translations of the tablets? Kerry's wrote, wasn't Noah's boat actually a submersible? It was indeed, yes. I know you know that because you've been reading the Lost Book of Enki, but yeah, it was. If you read the actual original tablets, which is in the British Museum, yes, it needed to be sealed with no sunlight to get through whatsoever. And they did a damn good job. Apparently it only took them 6 days to build it. The birds came in on it on their own, and the actual, supposedly the translations, obviously the second part of the tablet, we've got one in the British Museum, but the other part where we haven't got it. But supposedly he took domesticated animals, not every single animal, which makes sense because trying to take a lion and tiger and bear into a ark is a bit. But yeah, 6 days, and then the 7th day was the day that the tsunami was going to come. So 6 days to build that, amazing. And we can't repair potholes in roads. and all right, Noah didn't do it all on his own; he had help, but it wasn't from the Anunnaki. So, but it was still impressive. All right, sorry, hang on. What's happened to it? Scrolled. I think it might have scrolled to the bottom. Yeah, it did. Okay, so I'll probably grab last 10 questions. Sorry, it scrolled to the bottom. I'm not sure why. So I'm scrolling up so far now. This is live. I'm reading everyone's questions out. If you want to watch other live chats I've done or the videos where I actually give evidence and show all this stuff plus much more, just go to my website, ourtruehistory.co.uk. So the Watchers wrote, if Anunnaki were pale-skinned, where did black people come from? Can you get black gene from a white body? From white, and then you wrote buddy. I thought you was going to say body, but you was doing the old buddy mate type writing. I can probably guess what kind of person you are. So, let me explain it to you. The Anunnaki used, and we've got the tablets for this, and we've got the fused chromosomes, and we've got the evidence that back in South Africa there were dark skin, and we've also got evidence that Neanderthal was in Africa, not necessarily South Africa at that point. Anyway, so the Anunnaki genetically modified Neanderthal who were dark skinned with their own DNA or essence, as it actually says, to create the first Homo sapien. And they would have been dark skinned. In fact, the very first words, the first colour description was red as clay. So that's your first Homo sapien here on Earth, red as clay. But obviously we know, that dark skinned people over in Africa, chances are they probably weren't quite red, they were probably dark brown or black. Sorry, Alfredo wrote to the Watcher, if they can cap telemeters, altering melanin level is not difficult. Yeah, I wasn't even going to go down that road. I was just going to go with the evidence that we've got from things. So I'm guessing the Watcher kind of wants the Anunnaki to be black. I get that a lot. I get a lot of black people. No hate. I'm just saying I get a lot of black people wanting the Anunnaki to be black. But what they don't realise is black Anunnaki bred with black humans. Where did the white people come from? At exactly the same time that the Anunnaki admitted that they bred physically with the humans they were created 100,000 years ago in the same place where the first white people suddenly appeared. It's too much coincidence for them not to be white. But you know, if you're happy, if you're angry that they're not black, then do take solace in the fact that the first Homo sapiens on this planet were dark skinned, if that helps you. RH Negative wrote, my uncle has a pig's trachea. Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? The fact that people haven't caught on that pigs literally have everything that we, or not everything, but have so much that we have, and yet chimpanzees are supposed to be our closest relative. And yeah. Positive Pink has wrote, I have been your friend since the beginning. Oh, sorry, I didn't recognise the name there. My bad. Sorry. Thank you, Positive Pink. I feel bad now. I feel really bad. Titter Cox has wrote, talking about something you know no real true knowledge of. I do like looking at the pictures of these people. So this gentleman looks a bit like an angry Mike Tyson. So Titter, feel free to watch my videos where I give evidence. You won't bother. No one bothers. The people that say I have got no evidence, they don't bother. It'll waste my breath. Tens of thousands have watched my videos, and no one can. Anyway, a bit further down, Titter Cox has wrote, "Holy tablets and emerald tablets. Go read them. That's where the Bible come from." When you say holy tablets, why are they holy? Literally, you've just admitted that the Bible comes from older texts, but you've added the word holy because you want it to be holy. Why can't they just be older texts? Do you see what I mean? You've added the word holy. There's no need to add the word holy. So let's start again. Titter Cox wrote, ancient tablets and emerald tablets. Go read them. Trust me, I have read them. I even gave lectures on them on my Patreon page if anyone's interested. That's where the Bible come from. Correct. Then Titter Cox wrote, they won the war and rewrote everything, so we don't who we are. I'm guessing you mean we don't know who we are, and take over the world and take the world back. I think Yeah, I'm guessing you're saying that the Bible's been rewritten, not the original tablets, which I've been saying. Have you not been listening to me? I've been saying don't read the Bible, because read the literal translations. And I get told by people that I don't know what I'm talking about, and they clearly don't know what they're talking about. Michael's wrote, was the offerings to the gods actually just a feast? Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, there was no human sacrifices to the gods on behalf of the gods, in other words, Anunnaki. Now, they did kill one person, actually. There is actually, to be fair, there is a story in the tablets where they deliberately killed one particular person for a reason. Technically, it wasn't an offering; it was some other thing. But I guess you could put that down that they did kill one. I mean, obviously, Enlil tried to wipe us out many times, but singularly there was one person, but it wasn't a ritual, and it wasn't. I'm rattling my brains to remember why they did it. I'm probably not going to be able to remember off the top of my head, but yeah, they did kill one person that I've read, but it wasn't an offering like we expect it to be. So they basically had people bringing. Thank you, whoever's doing the hearts. They had people, us humans, bringing them food to their temples and whatnot. So it wasn't offerings. Was just us bringing them food. We took them not just food. We took them lard. There's actual translations of people working out how much lard they needed for the gods' temples and whatnot. I mean, who in the don't get me started. Becky's wrote, hi from Massachusetts. Hi, Becky. Nice of you to join. Whoever's doing the hearts, you really don't have to. I do appreciate it. I can see them ticking away. Last time I've seen hearts like that was as I was scrolling on TikTok. There was these women half dressed nakedly, and I guess loads of men were giving loads of hearts for those women. So I haven't seen hearts like that for me for a long time. So I appreciate it very much, Lee. Thank you very much. And no, I wasn't watching the women half dressed. I was skipping past. One Sinner, I think it's called, has wrote, can aliens fly? Do you know, it's a fair question. It's a fair question because, I'll tell you what, go number 3 in the class for that. It's a fair question because when you look at the Anunnaki's carvings, some of them have wings. And obviously, some of the Egyptian gods have wings. You've probably seen the images of them, nice colourful ones. From my and Sitchin's research, we both agree that the wings are symbolic to say that these are Anunnaki that fly in the sky. In other words, have their own craft. And the Book of Ezekiel, there's researchers out there, actual proper. Thank you, whoever's doing the hearts. I can't believe they're going that much. There's researchers out there that have actually studied the Book of Ezekiel and determined that it is a helicopter that came down with blades at the top. Now, I've already worked out that, and so did Sitchin, that the whirlwind, the description of whirlwind, which is even in the Bible, was a helicopter. So yes, they can fly using technology. They don't have wings themselves. Wow, I haven't seen the hearts flying like that. Whoever's doing that, please, you don't have to. I'm just happy at least one person's listening. Pizza King Dog, it looks like, forgive me if it's not, has wrote, is the afterlife a place of absolute joy? So, what you're going back to proper spirits here. The answer technically is yes. From everything that I've researched, spirits, mediums, and everything that I've spent all my time on regarding the afterlife has said the main thing is yes, it's pure love and joy. But have a year of that. Is it still joy? Is it still pure love? And so I think you're going to need, imagine the best thing that you could have, the best ice cream, the best tea and biscuits, the best dinner. You have that every single day for a year, it becomes the norm, and therefore it becomes not the best thing anymore. You kind of get fed up of it. And so having pure love, unadulterated, just joy, happiness, a year later you can be like, oh man, come on, give me a break. This is too much. Too much, too much. So the answer to your question is apparently yes, but I would say yin and yang. I would say you need the opposite. Otherwise, it would do your head in. It would probably do my head in. But, in fairness, you are only on the other side for a period of time anyway until the orb goat crosses over and then it ends up in someone else. So it's not eternity for you, it's eternity for the orb, but your memory will be in that orb that's joined with you when you're in your mother's womb. One sinner has wrote, are they stronger than Goku? I don't know who Goku is. Do you mean Enkidu? If you mean Enkidu, then the Anunnaki probably would be stronger than Enkidu, because although Enkidu was very strong, his fighting techniques wasn't great, and that's why Gilgamesh managed to defeat Enkidu, if that's what you're referring to. Sorry, I'm not sure who Goku is. My bad. Sharon 6 Liverpool's wrote, thank you, you're more than welcome. David Jackson, what a shame. It's a shame it wasn't Daniel Jackson from Stargate. David Jackson's wrote, why don't you just tell us about about the things that I've spent a very long time making documentaries on my Patreon page. Is that what you mean, the ones on the Patreon page? Or do you mean where the evidence is? Yeah, there's the British Museum, Enuma Elish, Atrahasis, cylinder seals all over the place. Just look them up yourself. Translations are there. Oxford University website, the Louvre, Nineveh Library, Baghdad Library, Israel Library. It's all there. I found it. But if you want me to actually point it out to you, because if you're too lazy to look, then feel free to watch my videos, because I actually tell you where they are. But in detail, with things that no one else has ever come up with, I do put a lot of them on. Thank you. Goku is a fictional character for adults who should know better. Oh, right, okay. I had a feeling, I was going to say, was it something to do with Godzilla or something? I had a feeling it was not a real character. That's probably why I didn't hear of it. So, David, hopefully that's answered your question. You can find the evidence anywhere you want. Just look for it, or if it helps, watch my videos, because I point to it directly. Deanna's wrote, if you read about the destroyer in the Colbrin Bible, it sounds more like a warship than a planet. So I'm just getting rid of that pinned message now. Yeah, do you know what? Go number one in the class for that, and you get a little gold star for that, because it was only about 4 weeks ago or something. I was, as you probably know, I research every single day. I was going back through stuff to do with the destroyer, because back in the day I heard that it was Nibiru, the planet. But I reread stuff to do with the destroyer, because I was expecting it to be Wormwood and stuff. And I have a feeling, just like you, that it wasn't. I think Wormwood and the destroyer are not Nibiru. I think they were something else. So I don't know exactly what yet, but well done. You've obviously done your homework, and I would 100% agree with you. I don't think they were. The blue star, yes, which is what the Hopis called Nibiru, but The Destroyer, no. Now, technically, the Destroyer, if you're going by the Book of Ezekiel, the Book of Revelations, the Destroyer would have been Ninurta as a person. If you're going by that version of the Destroyer, that would have been Ninurta with his weapons of terror, as they called them. So, because Ninurta was actually named as the Destroyer. So we can kind of... And he did go around and destroy, and in the same book, Book of Revelations, where it's talking about the Destroyer, he uses 7 weapons with the 7 trumpets, which just so happens to be the same 7 weapons. If you're interested in learning all of that, it's on my Patreon page. I did a documentary on the Book of Revelations with Satan as well as Lucifer, and you'll see I match it to the Anunnaki's 7 weapons with Ninurta. So well done, Deanna. That's brilliant. Jammers wrote Mud Fossil University? Question mark. I am aware of it. I haven't spent too much time on it, simply because when I have looked into anything to do with, a civilization that was supposedly very technically advanced for its time, I get 0 out of it. And I have seen, TikTok videos as well where people say X, Y, Z, but again, there's no evidence for me. I know people sent me links as well, and I've watched them, and I'm like, well, where's the evidence? And they're like, well, did you hear what he said? And I was like, yeah, I heard what he said, but where's the evidence? Well, he makes a good point. Yeah, where's the evidence? I could make some seriously clever fake things using my intellect and my knowledge and the fact that, let's be honest, most people won't bother checking it. So I could make up some seriously clever, crappy lies. I won't do that, but I could, because no one's going to check it. I've got videos where I say go and check, and people don't bother. So I kind of need evidence, I'm afraid. David Jackson's wrote, the big answer, just tell us. Again, not particularly sure what particular bit you're referring to, but if you're that impatient, I'm sorry. Sharon, thank you whoever's doing the heart still. I respect your opinion, thank you. No worries at all, Sharon. I can't remember what I was talking about there. David Jackson's wrote, tell us. Again, not 100% sure what particular point you're referring to. Kerry's wrote to David Jackson, tell you what, if you have a question, just ask. I know. That's what. Thank you, Kerry. I was wondering where it was me again. Billy the Kid has wrote Petrified Giants. What about Monument Valley? I'd need to restudy that. Sorry, Billy. Even though I know you know, but name's not Billy. I would need to revisit that. I probably looked at it once or twice in the past, but I wouldn't have enough information right now to give you a correct answer, so my bad on that one. I will try and look into that. David Jackson's wrote your rendition of... Kerry's wrote, you and I always agree on the same page with that, boss, no worries. Yeah, it's... thank you for that. David Jackson's wrote, your rendition of who and what is happening in this world, these restat... I'm guessing that's restart, maybe. Reset. Sorry, you carried on a bit further down. Resets happen reg. I'll read that again now. Your rendition of who and what is happening in this world. These resets happening reg. I'm guessing you're gonna say regular there. I'm guessing you're talking about civilizations that may have come and gone before in the past. It's not to say there isn't, but there's no evidence that there was a civilization anywhere on this planet before the Anunnaki. Again, not saying there wasn't, because obviously we know things deteriorate, but Stewards wrote, where do they come from? So the Anunnaki live on a planet, they're race name gods, or god, just the same as human. They live on a planet called Nibiru or Nibru. and it has a elliptical orbit round our solar system, goes in between Jupiter and Mars. And it was a rogue planet, came into our solar system about 4.6 billion years ago and ended up causing all sorts of problems. And we've got the tablets that they wrote about that. So, let's be honest, no one could see some of the planets. In fact, there's tablets that actually talk about the 4 moons of, I can't, forgive me now, I was freaking reading it today, proper. 4 moons of, is it Jupiter or something? I can't remember which one it was. One of the planets, which apparently we can't see with our naked eye. So you have to say someone was either, a clairvoyant back then, or knew it. Deanna's wrote, the Sumerian tablets talk about the Anunnaki adding the god essence to the mixture. What is that? So you've obviously been doing your homework, haven't you, Deanna? So there's 2 things that they talk about when they're talking about creating species. One is essence. Now, essence, the true word of the word essence is urine. Don't hate me for this. Urine that goes through, I think, about a 4-year process. You have to do various different things to it to eventually get the very end of it, essence. Many, not wizards, but many druids, many alchemists, etc., have tried for years, and supposedly some has succeeded. How they know that you have to do all of these procedures to get the essence in the first place is beyond me, but maybe the Anunnaki told them, I don't know. So technically essence, if you go by the true sense of the word, is part urine. And the other part that they're referring to is the MEs, which they used to house, or to, it could be DNA for all we know, but it was the MEs that had the mixtures of, I would say, DNA. So they had MEs when they took them onto Noah's Ark. They had it was a cedar box. If you're interested, the pilot, it wasn't Noah wasn't the actual pilot. It was an actual experienced pilot. It was one of Enki's sons that went, not Marduk, that went down and helmed the submersible. Technically, it wasn't a submersible. It was meant to survive. Basically, this donut shape without the whole arc. And he was in there, and he had a cedar box with the MEs for the animals. Should the planet or Earth should so allow the animals and plants, etc., to be recreated. So I would guess, I doubt if they're, an egg and a little tadpole. I doubt if that's that. I would say it's DNA. So it's a good question. So essence technically is we, and MEs I think would be the DNA. Chris has wrote, from what I've gathered from Sitchin's books, blacks were the first to mine in the sun for gold. Spot on, absolutely, yeah. They were more Neanderthal than they were Anunnaki. So yeah, spot on. Becky's wrote, what do you think about Rh negative blood? Just so happens the first Rh negative blood comes from Mesopotamia, 100,000 years ago, right when the pale-skinned Anunnaki bred with the dark-skinned humans. Bang, some of us end up with the Anunnaki blood. It's got to be. It's a foreign blood type. We shouldn't have it. No other species on this planet has a blood type like that, where it's destructive. It has to be theirs. Chris is right. I've read all of Zacharias Sitchin's books multiple times. They're great. They are, aren't they? They're very good. Obviously, what he doesn't do is he doesn't sort of read out everything correctly. He paraphrases in order for us to understand what he means, which is why I ended up doing that long video, hours worth, on my Patreon page called The Lost Book of Our True History, where I back up his books, or the Book of Enki, with evidence. So yeah, he's done a good job. I would love to have spoke to him. I think there's some things he's got wrong, but I would still love to have spoke to him. Deanna's wrote, burnt offerings was just cooked meat. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Chris has wrote, it's me, no problem, bud. Oh, is that the who's giving me the hearts? Oh, thank you, Chris. Doesn't mean we can go pick out curtains or anything for the hearts, but I'm joking, you know the old saying. But I appreciate that, thank you. Stu's wrote, you have done your homework. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was trying to explain that to people that don't want to hear it is difficult, but yeah, you've obviously listened long enough to realise that appreciate that though. Jammers wrote, maybe they could glide down from the mountains. I did say that in one of my videos. I did actually say that. I said, is it possible that the wings were used for hang gliders? Because there was one mention of something where they said something about gliding. And I thought, I wonder if they... But to wear those wings and go up to the top of a mountain, I know you could say, well, hang on a minute, they were on Mount Olympus. They were on Mount Sinai. At one point, they were on top of Mount Ararat. So you could say, okay, maybe they had these wings to glide down, but it's a nice thought, but I can't imagine it. But yeah, so you've obviously come to the same thought that I did, but I just can't imagine the wings. I don't think they're big enough for the size of the Anunnaki, unless obviously they were carved smaller than what they really are. But still, it's there's no harnesses on the wings on the images to hold them onto the front, so all you sort of see is the wings coming out from the back, like an angel, for example, that we would perceive as an angel. So I think they are more metaphoric than they are usable. Deanna's wrote, in the Bible, the angels always come and go in a whirlwind of smoke, flame, and ground shakes. You really have done your homework, haven't you, Deanna? I'm going to follow you if you don't mind me doing that. I don't know if you've got any videos, but you've obviously done your homework. You're spot on. They do. Not always in a whirlwind, but yeah. But yeah, the whirlwind's definitely mentioned. It was mentioned 17 times in one particular passage. I know because it's on my Patreon page video. But you've obviously done your homework. Brilliant. Chris has wrote the word Shem, Shem, which was name in the Bible, actually translates to rocket. I'm not aware of that. If that's true, that's very cool. I'll tell you what, I'm going to stick you in number 3. Forgive me whoever was in number 3. You've now been pushed down to number 4, but still worthy of Chris being in number 3 position, if that's correct. Stuart wrote, nobody has ever come back to tell us what it's like. You mean in the afterlife? So if you're referring to the afterlife, technically they're here. This is it. This is the afterlife. It's just we can't see them. So that's one part of it. And we know that because literally when we talk to Ouija boards or spiritualists or whoever, they'll tell you that they're here. So there's no pearly gates really. There may be light because that's possibly frequency to help the orb come out of your body and go towards the light, just to leave your body. But I don't think there's any pearly gates with... Now, my mum believed just before she passed, not directly before she passed, but at one point when she thought she was dying, she thought she saw the whole family standing by these gates. But the problem with that is she kind of wanted that to be the case. It's like people saying to me, well, you may have wanted to see aliens when you possibly saw aliens. And that's a fair point. So Like people say, oh, when you say the word Jesus to aliens, they leave you alone. But let's be honest, the only people that would be saying Jesus to aliens would be religious people, because I would probably, the first thing I'd be going is, if I was awake and they wasn't paralysing me, is, wow, can I film you? Would you like to be in a film? Saves me CGI. I'd probably be asked a billion different questions, or saying, go away, I want to kill you type thing. Because I'm not going to mention the word Jesus, because I'm not that way inclined. So, I know I digressed, didn't I? Lidco has wrote, what about atomic gold? Did use the Anunnakis? Yeah, that's what they come here for, to sprinkle in their atmosphere. They had issues trying to find the right type of gold. And eventually they did, when a mountain split open, apparently. And if you watch my clever video on my Patreon page, I know I keep going on about it, but damn, these are good. I break down why there's a 38-kilometre cut mountain range in Nazca. You've all heard of the Nazca lines. 38-kilometre mountain range. Kilometre. Cut. Sliced right off the top of it. And that is to do with gold. No one else has done all of this research. Oh, it's amazing how good I am. Sorry. Honestly, do just go look. If you get 5 minutes, everyone, just go look at my Patreon page and just look down at all the videos, and see whether any of them tickle your fancy. For what is it, £2-3? You can cancel 2 minutes after. I mean, you can buy a bottle of Coke for more than that these days, and you get audiobooks, you get 100 videos, and more are being added every week. Like I say, Billy Meyer's going to be, this weekend, I'm putting Billy Meyer Part 1 up. So, yeah, all amazing videos. But anyway, yeah, so going back to the gold, yeah, you'll see in that video that, I'm sorry if I'm being cagey, but obviously if people subscribe or just subscribe for a day and cancel it, it'd be horrible for me to give out all the information on these lives about things that I've worked out that no one else has, because then what's the point of subscribing or following me on Patreon if I'm just telling everyone? So yeah, so forgive me for that, but that's the way. A main conspirator's right. I think he meant a Dragon Ball Z character. Right, okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'd kind of heard the name before. I just wasn't sure where I'd heard it from. MUFON96, interesting name. Mutual UFO Network has wrote, we need to find more sites like Göbekli Tepe too. Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 tepes not too far from Göbekli. So just for people to know, tepe is just a word for hill. So you don't, it's the location is Göbekli Hill, and there's other hills around that area, but they're just called tepes. MUFON 96. Are you anything to do with the actual MUFON group? I'm just looking here. You've got 2 followers, or you're following 2 and have 4 followers. So obviously you're aware of MUFON. Jessica's wrote, what books do you prefer us to read? If you're talking about ancient aliens, go for the Lost Book of Enki. I can't say that enough. Lost Book of Enki is not my book. I'm not getting no money for it. There might be an audio book on Audible for it, or I know there is people that have done read it out on YouTube. But so the Lost Book of Enki, if you're interested in the Anunnaki. If you're interested in everything, as a whole, such as Black Ops, crop circles, Men in Black, all that kind of stuff, then a book, another amazing book, genius author, and the book's called Black Ops, Aliens, it's a long title, Black Ops, Aliens, Spirits, Bigfoot and Our Untold History. So the best thing to do is go to my website, because if you can't remember to write all that down, and trust me, I I still struggle trying to remember the title of it. Just go to my website because I've got a links page. So it's ourtruehistory.co.uk. ourtruehistory.co.uk. Go to the links page, and you'll see recommendations for books, for websites, all sorts of things that I would rate. And trust me, there's other researchers that I don't rate, so I'm not always going to be blowing smoke up people. I'm very particular on who I think is doing a good job or not. Hello, Clark. My boy's just walked in. That guy's wrote, gold has a magic cloud just like monkey magic, and a towel too.
Food.
Shush, Clark. I was reading out an important thing there. No more bananas. Not at this time of night. Don't be silly. I might have to go soon. No, you don't have no more food, Clark. Stop.
Oh, fine. No more food.
Sorry, he's going into the fridge now. This is where all my regulars are now going to be shouting out. Go for it, Clark. Go for it.
More milk.
No, not more milk.
Please. I'm thirsty.
Tiny bit.
Okay, my dad.
Sorry. Stuart wrote, if you see orbs, what's that mean? So generally, from my experience and my research, the small orbs, up to tennis ball size, are either people that have passed and they're now controlling the orbs, or they're orbs without people in them. In other words, they've not got a person dead that's controlling them at that point. So if you see orbs, don't panic. It's normally good. It's always a good thing. There's no negative thing. The only saying that, I'll caveat that. Technically, you could say, well, orbs maybe. Clark, shush. That's a lot of milk.
Yeah.
A little sod.
I'm not sod.
You are.
Sorry, my darling.
You're not. Sorry.
I am, my darling.
He's got a whole bloody glass of milk.
Bye.
Sorry, guys. So you could say that the orbs, if you see orbs, someone may be soon to pass, because my sister, we had a camera at my mum's house, and we could check on her and make sure she was all right. And a couple of days before she passed, my sister was looking on the camera, and we recorded it. I should put it up, but obviously it's my mum's in the shot, so it's kind of sad. She hadn't passed at that point, but there was orbs flying around the front room, and we've had that camera there for 5-6 years. Never ever seen any orbs flying around until 2 days before she was about to pass. So you could say, well, maybe they're hanging around for that reason. So I guess it's not always a good sign, but they're not going to hurt you. Is what I'm trying to say. That guy's wrote, "Oh my God, autocorrect." No worries. I'm just going to have to read a few more questions out because my battery's low, and I'm probably going to have to go and sort my boy out before he... Jane had wrote 9:30 time check, so I am 20 minutes behind. This is live, by the way, everybody. Alfredo's talking about the monkey. Yeah, I got the thing. Yeah, I do love King Monkey, actually. I do still watch King Monkey when he stands up against the Buddha's 5 pillars and peas up against the hand, really. Myra's wrote, whoever's doing the hearts, you don't have to. Thank you, though. Why does all this make 100% true? I know I like this is facts. You're right. It's first of all, it sounds, even regardless of the fact that we've got the facts, it sounds more plausible than the Bible. So that's the truth of that part from my point of view. But yeah, we have the evidence. So if you watch my videos either on Patreon or on my website, free of charge on my website, but better ones, or I shouldn't say better ones, but deeper ones are on my Patreon page. But I show evidence, I point to where things are and that. Deanna's wrote, in the Corbin Bible, the destroyer actually manoeuvres above Earth. A planet that close is impossible. Yeah, like I say, I think it was, if you're referring to, I can't remember the Corbin Bible, but if you're referring to, the destroyer as in Ninurta, then that would make sense, because he was flying around with 7 weapons, dropping them. Myra's wrote, like being from Mats or something like that. I heat on some Lysa? Like being from Mats or something. I don't know what that means. I'm so sorry. So sorry. RH Negatives wrote, evidence and logic is our teacher. You'd be surprised at how many people don't actually have logic, let alone evidence on what they say. Michaels wrote, some of us should have been passing by an Anunnaki descent. They left me behind, but they are still... I'm trying to find the next part of that. I can't find the next part. Sorry, I was trying to look. Interested to know what you look like, Michael, if you're one of the Anunnaki. Stu has wrote, so we're we... I'm just reading it how it is. So where we all... I'm guessing were we... Yeah, my bad. So I told you I can't... I was in special needs at school all the time. So what... I'm doing it again. So where were we all chosen to be here? No, we're just alive, and we come, we go, we die. If it wasn't for the fact that these orbs entities can actually join with our pineal gland and learn with us, we would just die. That would be the end of it. So if it wasn't for them joining with us, now I don't know if everyone has an orb with them. I don't know the answer to that, but the ones that do, manage to control the orb after, but eventually the orb will cross over to the next plane of existence, and that's it. You're now just a memory in that hard drive that goes round and does it again, someone else's memory. Kerry's wrote, you and I always... Oh, yes, I read that one. Thank you, Kerry. Omega's wrote, Team Enki or Enlil. Enlil went with a very, very, very young child. So I would go with Enki. However, Enki did... Thank you, CLB. Oh, thank you. Enki went with... And this has probably happened many a time, but he went with his daughter, his daughter's daughter, his daughter's daughter's daughter, his daughter's 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 daughter, and he was about to go with his daughter's daughter's daughter, until one of the Anunnaki women said to her, don't come round this way because Enki will have his wicked way with you. So I think in terms of pervertedness, I think they're not great role models. She Stole My Heart, as wrote, Lemuria and Atlantis real and did start life in Africa. Atlantis was a place that I believe was real, but obviously not called Atlantis. Watch my pinned video on my TikTok. It's pinned there, and I give the location and who would have been on Atlantis. Lemuria, no, that's just a name that was made up in 18-something. So, no. And did life start in Africa? When you say life, Homo sapiens, absolutely. If you mean life in general, have no idea. I don't think anyone's ever going to know where life started, and it's possible. I was, again, researching just today about where life could have started from, and the consensus is that multiple life could have started multiple places. Some could have been a million years behind the other, because one might have been over in, for example, in England, and one might have been over in India. Them two would never have met, so one lot would have been, evolution-wise, a million years behind. But in the big scheme of 4.something billion years, that's not a lot. So life could have started multiple places at different periods, but still eventually caught up with each other. Myra's wrote, like I feel I know this in my brain. It's crazily simple, isn't it? It just makes so much sense. It's good that you do that. It's good that you feel that. Stewards wrote, so what you're actually saying then, we were chosen to be here, so we're all kind of gods? When you say chosen to be here, technically we're not chosen, as far as I'm aware. But the reason why we would be gods is because we have, or some of us, not all, some of us would have, technically all of us have part of the Anunnaki, but some of us have more where they bred with the humans and then we were actual direct descendants off of the Anunnaki. But I wouldn't say we was chosen. I think we just, as abductees have said with modern aliens, we're just called containers. That's all we are for the orbs. Alfreda's wrote, not me, I piss excellence. Billy the Kids, I meant Mount Rushmore, dead presidents. Okay, that's why I was a bit struggling on the other one. Yeah, I don't think they're giant petrified heads. Yeah. There were supposed to be 5 of them actually, but they ended up running out of money. I think I remember hearing. That guy's right. So technically, we are chosen to be here. No, the orb chooses who it wants to go with. We just come and go. As Shakespeare said, we are just players. All the world is a stage. We have our entrances and our exits. Alfreda's wrote, MEs, medical examiner, music executive. Someone said it could have been mitochondrial extract, but obviously that's a really modern name. So for us to suddenly come up with exactly the same terminology would be really impressive. Michael's wrote, were Enki in the Americas? I think Ningazida and some of the other Anunnaki were. I don't think Enki was. But definitely Anunnaki did go around. Stewards wrote, I'm a god in my own right. I would agree. I'm also a god, I believe. Just not the world's best pronunciation god. Deanna's wrote, Muro Bingalow, who wrote the Naked Bible, mentions Enki and described flying machines called ROCS. Interesting. I've not read that. Obviously the Indian epics such as the Mahabharata and I can never remember the other name of it. Again, I was researching today in it. Veda, that's it, I think it is. Mention flying machines. Okay, I'm probably going to have to shoot in a minute because my battery's on 8% and I need to ring someone. Jammers wrote, Mudfuzzle University on YouTube. Is research about petrified titans and mountain tree stumps. Yeah, I have looked at it. I'll have to look again, but the problem when I do that is I will obviously pick out faults in it if there is faults, and then I end up making a video on the faults, not to knock them, but just because that's just the way I am. I have to, if something's not right, I have to point it out. That's a flaw I have, I guess. Yet another flaw, me being too nice. Redders wrote, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as black Neanderthals. So Neanderthals apparently had fur or hair, and the fur or hair would have been described as black or red. Now, underneath that skin, underneath that fur or whatever, the Neanderthal would have had skin. Now, the chances are Neanderthal would have been dark-skinned. I'm not saying they were or weren't. I'm saying the chances are they would have been, simply because if the Anunnaki were pale-skinned, for all the reasons that I've explained before, that no one can tell me I'm wrong on, because I mention them on these live chats. Why? And do you know how many people said, no, actually, You're wrong because no one says I'm wrong. So we have to assume that I'm probably right in the fact that they're pale skin. So someone would have had to have been black, or had allowed the skin to become black or red as it was originally said. So if it's not the Anunnaki, then the chances are it's probably Neanderthal side. Right, I'm probably going to have to shoot, guys, because I'm on 7% and I've got to make a phone call after this. So if anyone's interested, I do have my own website with all the videos that's on TikTok in sets of 5 and sets of 50. So you don't even have to sit there and flick. You can just stick it on driving along. To be honest, you don't, because I read out everything properly, you don't have to look at the screen. It's not like I'm, so if I'm referring to a tablet, I'll tell you where the tablet is and everything, so you don't have to look. So literally, you could almost use it as a podcast. The sets of 50, so that's like nearly an hour. I say nearly an hour, some of them are 3 minutes long. So anyway, they're on my website, or you can specifically look for something. I'm just about to yawn. Oh, sorry about that. Everyone yawned with me. It says batteries now just on 5%. So website outrohistory.co.uk, or visit my Patreon page, and loads of really cool videos, documentaries that I've done. No one else does this type of documentaries I do. Alright, I'm gonna have to shoot, guys. Sorry. It's dying on me and I need to make a phone call. Alright, thank you everybody. Take care, and I'll see you again very, very soon. outrohistory.co.uk